Hey there, welcome to Off Duty. I'm Wendy Bounds. We're here in the Wall Street Journal's offices, not too far from Madison Avenue. And for you Mad Men fans, that is where Sterling Cooper, Draper, Price, the selling of the American Dream, and 3 martini lunches take place. Well, maybe not so much the 3 martini lunches anymore, but Madison Avenue, that is where it all happens. And today we are talking to one real-life mad woman who lived through it all. And we're joined right now with Jane Maas. She's author of Mad Women, not Mad Men, and the subtitle is The Other Side of Life on Madison Avenue in the 60s and Beyond. And you should know, because some have called you the real-life Peggy Olson. You basically worked your way up from a copywriter at Ogilvy and Mather to the senior ranks.
Yes, well, Peggy started as a secretary. I actually started as a secretary at a different job and worked my way up. So by the time I joined Ogilvy, I was hired as a copywriter.
You saw everything that was going on. Everything we see on TV with Mad Men, you saw it in real time in the real world. Do you watch Mad Men, the show?
I do watch Mad Men, but Wendy, I have to tell you, everything they do on Mad Men, we did more of in real life, right? More sex, more drinking, more smoking.
And you're still standing, so we should all be doing that.
I was 80 last week. I'm still chugging along.
Happy birthday.
Thank
You look great.
Thank
You look
Thank
fantastic.
you very much.
Let's start a little bit, about your career. We're going to go, I promise everybody, we're going into the drinking. We're going to go into the sex. We'll do a deep dive. But I want you to give folks a sense of your career, because it was very stellar, and you developed incredibly important campaigns, particularly here in New York. Just give us a quick flavor.
Well, I was a copywriter and then a creative director at Ogilvy. Worked on a lot of products like Drano, Vanish toilet bowl cleaner, all the glamorous products women worked on in those days. And then I went to Wells Rich Green, where I was happily the mother of I Love New York,
which we all know and is still around today. What does it feel like to walk around the streets and still see a campaign you developed be that important?
It's wonderful, because after all those years of working on detergents and the powders, it's wonderful to have been part of a campaign that actually helped save New York City.
Now, how prevalent was sex in the office back in the 60s in advertising?
Wendy, it was very prevalent. I don't know what confluence of events caused it. Maybe it was the fact that the pill, the birth control pill, had just become prevalent in 1960. Maybe it was the early blossoming of women's liberation, the sense of revolution in the air in the 60s, but there was a lot of extramarital, premarital sex going on.
And maybe it was that you didn't have glass walls on your offices as we do around here. I mean, to some extent, that's true, though. You had closed doors, and you had these couches in the office. I mean, that must have...
Well, now, not all of us had couches.
Executives, high level.
Yes, so that it meant that the men who were apt to be having more sex in the office were the senior men, because they had couches, and the more junior men only had chairs.
Well, well, never mind. We won't go there. We're not going to go there, folks. What's your advice to women today, or to anyone, but particularly women, in terms of asking for salary and getting the money up front? You talk about that a little bit in the book, but what would your advice be?
I think women have to start being a little bit more forceful about asking for money. I think we still feel that it's somehow unladylike to talk about, I would like more money, but I think we have to learn that. And I think we also, as women, have to realize that we still have to work harder than the man in the office next to us to start getting to the top of the ladder.
So in some ways, you think that some things haven't changed since the days of Mad Men in the 60s and now in the workplace, it sounds like.
I'm afraid I think that we've come quite a long way, but not as long as we need to keep going. And that's particularly true for working mothers. When I interviewed working moms who had kids in the 60s and 70s, they told me they were riddled with guilt. And when I talk to working mothers who are working today with young children, they tell me they're riddled with guilt. People
wonder about Mad Men in particular, and lots of the drinking that went on. They see the drinking in the office. Did that happen as much when you were back there? I mean, or is that over-exaggerated in the series?
Well, the drinking is exaggerated to the extent that we didn't drink in the morning. Truly, nobody came in at 9:30 in the morning and poured themselves shots. However, the drinking at lunch, the 3 martini lunch, was absolutely in effect. I think
for women too?
Well, women would have only 2 martinis. And women didn't go out to lunch every day. The men did. We women, I think it was a combination of work ethic, and calorie counting. I think we knew we couldn't keep pouring all that liquor down ourselves every day, and we figured somebody had to stay at the office to get the work done.
Do you have any regrets, Jane?
No, I had a wonderful time. I loved every minute of it, every second of it, and if I had it all to do over again, I'd do exactly the same thing.
Jane Maas, she is the author of Mad Women. That book is out now and everybody should check it out. We're so glad that you're here with us. Now I have to say, I've been obviously reading this and marking it up. I'd love you to sign it for me if you don't mind.
I'd love to sign it for you.
Is 1960s style coming back thanks to Mad Men? I don't know. Maybe they'd make a good segment. What do you think?
I think we could possibly pull that off for you, Wendy.
Marshall's our producer. He's got the skinny tie. He's starting.
Skinny-ish.
But who do we turn to for real fashion advice?
Oh, we turn to Christina Binkley.
Christina Binkley. She's here with our Fashion Confidential. She'll teach us all how to be trendsetters.
Hashtag winning.
Hashtag winning.
We're very accustomed to going into a store and helping ourselves. We choose the clothes, we try them on, we decide whether we like them. If you're buying fashion, particularly designer fashion, you should expect a lot of service. You don't want to make a mistake. You want to make sure you come out with something that fits, that's right, and that has been tailored to fit you. So the first thing, go into a store and make sure that there's a salesperson there who offers to help you and is really listening to what you want. Don't go the do-it-yourself way. Go for the help. It's like getting your own private stylist without having to hire a stylist. That's what the person in the store should do for you. Sometimes clothes look very different hanging on a rack than they do when they're on your body, and that salesperson's job is to know the clothes and know what's likely to work for you. A smart salesperson who knows their business can look at you and with a high degree of accuracy know exactly what size you should wear. And they really should push you to take a few risks. You don't have to buy the risk. No, remember them, say thank you, come back next time, but if it's not right, don't buy the goods. I always recommend that people go to independent boutiques near them. Generally, independent boutiques are small. The owner of the store is often there. And those people care deeply about repeat business. In a high fashion world, if you're buying designer clothes, then having somebody that's interested in those clothes having a long life in your closet and a long-term relationship with you is really important. To get that service from a store makes up a lot for the high price of the clothes that you're going to be buying there.
Now, Mad Men's Don Draper lives on a diet of booze, cigarettes, and lies. Fair to say he probably uses some of these as well. But what about fruit, Don, or fruit juice? We can help you out here at the Wall Street Journal, because on today's Test Kitchen, we have the best juicers on the market. Now let's be honest, Don Draper isn't drinking juice while he's working. He's drinking alcohol. In fact, they all are. And Don's favorite drink, well, that is the old fashioned. Don't know how to make one? That's why we've got Elva Ramirez with After Hours. Now, we've all been struggling on how to make this last segment connect to Mad Men, and here's what we came up with. It's so tortured, I actually have to read it. Don Draper got his daughter Sally tickets to the Beatles. The Beatles are in a rock band. Rock bands use all kinds of gear, and our own Jim Fusilli, he interviewed some cutting-edge music gear designers at South by Southwest. See, this stuff just writes itself.
It makes sense that at the South by Southwest Festival in Austin, Texas, where thousands of musicians gather, that vendors of new musical gear gather as well. A baritone guitar allows musicians to add bottom, depth, and texture to their sound.
It's a baritone 8-string.
Yeah.
So it's similar to a standard 6-string guitar in that the strings are tuned relatively the same next to one another, so all the chord shapes that you already know, you can still play, but the whole thing is transposed down a fourth. When you play an E chord on that guitar, it's a B. Hear that bottom? When you're recording music, instead of having two guitars doing the same exact thing, one's a baritone, one's a 6-string, a normal 6-string. Again, the overall sound of the two blended together covers more space and creates an interesting sound together. It kind of makes you think differently, you know, as a guitar player.
You're beating up this guitar. What?
I'm hitting the guitar with a stick. It's more primitive than a guitar. I'm able to get percussive tones, and I'm able to be a kid again. You're smiling, and that's what it's about. I'm a musician. I'm a lawyer too, but I'm not going to say that over the microphone. I guess I just did, and I'm proud of that too. But this is my other life. I'm 55 years old. I want to see what the 14-year-old in Puerto Rico does. I want to see what the 14-year-old in Nigeria does with us. They're going to be teaching me. I'm the world's greatest. I don't want to be.
This is our slug solderless cable, and you can take the cable and cut it with any utility knife. You take the connector and there's a spike inside, you just put it on the end of the cable, you tighten it down with the hex key, and it's a set depth screw, so it not only holds the cable in place but it also grounds it. And what's really cool is you can make a cable any length, but it's also a green product. You don't throw it away, so you don't have all these unused cables. So you can wire your pedal boards or, you know, make it any kind of length you want. And the cool thing is you can keep reusing the connectors and cable.
Pedal technology allows guitarists to add new textures to their sound.
When you come to a show like this, what is your mission? What are you trying to achieve?
We want to make stuff that basically takes the regular guitar pedal and puts it in the hands of musicians to make a new and inspiring creative music. So we hope to, especially at South by Southwest, we hope to connect to new artists, people doing new things. So what we have are 4 eventide pedals hooked up with bullet cables who we're sharing a booth with here. We have the time factor, which is delay effects, the pitch factor, which is pitch bass effects, the reverb, which we call space, so we have all kinds of reverb effects, and then a modulation pedal with chorus and rotary and stuff. We got this thing called mangled verb, which is distorted reverb.
Now what if we want to power up? What if we want to rattle some walls?
Hit it with some overdrive on the front. You can do this kind of thing.
That's it for today's WSJ Off Duty. Please click above to subscribe. Join me on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Wendy Bounds, and I'm going to go practice making those old fashions for the next episode of Mad Men. Sunday is just around the corner. I'll see you tomorrow.